very clear about the Galaxy Note 5. It's that this was going to be the design language that Samsung was going to use moving forward, and that is of course dual glass panels with a metal frame. And even though some people were bummed out by the fact that the Note 5 took a cue from the Galaxy S6, there was one thing that softened the blow: that curve on the back. Even with the curve though, this is still a pretty large device to handle, and in one hand it might be a little bit tough to use side to side and top to bottom. But now we have the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 that not only had the curve on the back but also added it to the front. Yes, the design language of the Galaxy Note line, and with Galaxies in general probably, are going to have the curved edge display available now across the board. The result, however, is a phone that is symmetrical and, for all intents and purposes, quite beautiful actually. And having the curve on both the back and the front meant that the sides felt less sharp. And it actually helped with handling, as the phone sits just beautifully in the hand and you are able to get left to right a lot easier than before, even if top to bottom is still kind of tough in one hand. One aspect that was really publicized about the Galaxy Note 5 was the S Pen, and it's a new S Pen with a clicky top that was able to go backwards into its slot far enough to actually break it. Thankfully, with the Galaxy Note 7, that has been addressed, as the pen does not go farther than that clicky top, so you won't have any chances to even break it. The displays are for the most part the same. You get 5.7 inches in the size and Quad HD in the resolution. And of course, both of these are Super AMOLED displays, so you get the higher saturation that can be toned down in the settings. But the Note 7 does add a couple of new things along with that curve, and one of them is the Edge UX. The Edge UX comes back from the Galaxy S7 Edge, and if you are an avid fan of it because of its easy way of adding another place to get shortcuts and some extra information, then that obviously puts the Note 7 up top. But there's also the always on display, which is an easy way of always having time, a calendar, or a little bit of information available at all times, even when the phone is on standby. There is a pretty significant shift in the performance aspect because the Exynos 7420 of the Galaxy Note 5 was what they used across the board. Samsung really stuck to its guns when it came to their own processing packages. And I did use the Note 5 quite a bit in New York around the time of the announcement of the Galaxy Note 7, and it did a good job playing games like Pokemon Go and Final Fantasy without any issues. But with the Samsung Galaxy Note 7, the Exynos is a processor that's only available in certain markets. For most places, you're going to get the Snapdragon 820, which is still a powerful processor, and it's basically the one that you would want to have in a flagship today. One place that the Galaxy Note 7 may have stumbled a bit is in its RAM capacity. Now, 4GB of RAM is the standard, it is the de facto amount, but having a little bit more could have put the Note 7 over the top in terms of power user features. Especially when you consider all that this phone can do and the S Pen, there might have been a little bit more need for extra RAM just to keep the phone smooth and snappy all the time. The Note 5 is obviously going to falter when it comes to hardware, and that is very apparent now with a lot of phones that have plenty of power user features. Now, one of those is expandable storage, but on top of that, the Galaxy Note 5 comes in at a base 32GB of onboard storage, and that's simply not the case for the Note 7, which is always 64GB with its microSD card slots. When it comes to battery life, you'll get a pretty standard experience either way, with the Note 5 still able to perform very well for a full day, and then you can use fast charging in order to get a quick charge on the go. That can still be said for the Note 7, which has an updated version of fast charge that is even faster than before. So with either of these phones, the battery life shouldn't be that bad, and with the Note 5, I was still able to get a full day without any issues, even after all of the apps and all of the wear and tear that I put onto this phone. And there's definitely a wow factor when it comes to using the iris scanner, but I will admit that after using the Note 7 for quite a while, the fingerprint reader is still my go-to way of unlocking the device in a quick way. So let's check in real quick. The Note 5 was still a very good daily driver when I was using it leading up to the launch of the Note 7. And until the Note 7 came out and I used it as my daily driver since, the Note 5 didn't have many holes when it came to its experience. It's only when the Note 7 showed us what we could have that the Note 5 started to feel like a second-rate phone in comparison. But still, for anybody out there that needs basically the essentials, 32GB without expandable storage, a processor that still works really well even if it's somewhat dated, and a design language that might still be a little bit uncomfortable for some, like myself, the Note 5 is still so far a very good companion. But then, I had a good time using it as my daily camera in New York. Now, it doesn't come as any surprise that Samsung has been good at their pictures and their videos, no matter which of their phones you get, but with the Galaxy Note 5, I found myself taking a lot of shots in New York and leaving my DSLR back at home. So with that in mind, the pictures between the Note 5 and Note 7 are actually not too far off in quality. Structurally speaking, the lower aperture of the Note 7 means slightly better bokeh and slightly better low light performance, but for the most part you'll be able to get the same type of performance between these two if you're in good lighting situations. And speaking of low light, the Note 7 does take a cue from the Galaxy S7 with 12 larger dual pixel megapixels on top of its lower aperture. Not to mention the fact that those dual pixels provide even faster autofocus, and that's something that I really enjoy using, especially during videography. So the Note 5 still proved to be a good companion to have as a camera on the daily. I still enjoyed all of the pictures I got from here, and I did post a lot of them on Instagram, and I even used some of the video footage on a vlog. But another thing that I love about the Note 7 is that its front-facing camera can record videos in 2K resolution, which is perfect for vlogging. And finally, in software, the Note 5 never really was a slouch when it came to its version of TouchWiz. But now with the Note 7, they don't even really call it TouchWiz anymore because they've really streamlined the interface. The Note 5 was still a very functional operating system. You're able to get to pretty much every part of the operating system without any troubles, and with all of the different features you could use that are kind of out of the way so that there aren't so many dialog boxes just in your face trying to make you use all of those features. Using this phone as a simple daily driver, TouchWiz didn't do a bad job at all. The main thing about the S Pen in the Note 5 was that I could use it for screen-off memo. All of that carries over in the Note 7, but in the Note 7, Samsung actually put a couple of new features that might actually prove useful for a lot of users. One of the main ones is a GIF creator. Now, the GIF creator could be really fun to use, and you can send fun GIFs to everybody. On the other hand, screen-off memo can be pinned to the always-on display, so that actually proved to be a little bit more useful than before. And all of that results in a software package in the Note 7 that feels incredibly stacked. There's still so many capabilities in this version of Samsung's operating system, and it has been streamlined to look a little bit easier on the eyes. But from there's so much to do in the Note 7 that it might feel overwhelming at times. The same went for the Note 5, but this time around, it's almost as if Samsung put a little bit more thought into what features users might actually use rather than all the ones that they might not. But of course, that's only part of the equation, and those little steps forward in the software actually permeate across the entire device, where the Note 7 actually feels like a power user phone again. That was not the case with the Galaxy Note 5, and for somebody like me that used it primarily as just a daily driver to get typical tasks done, the Note 5 was a wonderful device. And if you are that kind of user, it's still a great value for the money, especially since its price will go down now that the Note 7 is out. But if you're a big power user that needs the expandable storage, more onboard storage, and also all of the capabilities that the S Pen will now provide, then of course the Note 7 will be the phone that you're looking for. If you've been holding on to an even older phone and you need to save a little bit of money, the good news here is that the trade-offs between 5 and 7, despite skipping 6, they are significant, but ultimately not deal-breaking. As always, thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this versus between the Galaxy Note 7 and the Galaxy Note 5. We wanted to revisit the Galaxy Note 5 simply because we do think that it's still a good value for the money. And since I used it as my daily driver leading up to the Note 7, I did come down to one conclusion. The Note 7 did enough to feel fresh and move forward from the Note 5, but if it was not announced at that time and if it didn't even come out, I would still probably have a good time with the Note 5. You can take that for what you will and decide if the Note 5 might be a better value for the money that you're looking to spend. Keep it tuned to Android Authority for all of the best coverage of the Galaxy Note 7. We've had plenty of it already, and you can look forward to even more comparisons of it against the other Android flagships available now. You can stay tuned to AndroidAuthority.com for even more news, and you can keep up with the recall that's happening also, as we are going to be exchanging some of our units as well. And then you can stay tuned to the YouTube channel by subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and dropping thumbs up on all of our videos because we love to see your guys' feedback. So stick around and remember that Android Authority is your source for all things Android.